Welcome to my world.
Hej, mit navn det er Stig Ulrichsen og welcome to my world. I denne uge har jeg fået besøg af en legendarisk trommeslager. Han bor her i Østjylland. Han er englænder. Han har været trommeslager for et af de populæreste bands overhovedet. Hans navn er Powell og var trommeslager i Slade. Han er lige nu aktuel med dette album her, Powell's Occasional Flames, Just My Cup of Tea, som findes på CD, og det findes også på LP som int. Welcome, Don.
That's nice of you to have me here, Steve. How are you? Okay?
Yeah, I'm fine, thanks.
Good.
It's great having you in the studio, and we can talk a little bit about your new album.
That's even better.
Yeah, right. So, but how are you doing these days?
I'm great, you know. So at the moment, it's there's nothing happening because of this pandemic situation, you know. But hopefully, whenever it will hopefully clear up, and then we can get back to work.
So you can start touring again,
that'd be even better.
Yeah. And then what about this band, Powell's Occasional Flames? What is that? Is that a new band? You are not a part of Slade anymore, or what?
Well, not in Slade, but I've got my own situation with the Don Powell band, and also sort of the Don Powell there. Sort of.
You made this one, Let There Be Drums?
That's a single that we released by. I have a lot of drummer friends. We all contributed, and the proceeds actually went to charity. It was for all the while this pandemic was on, all the crews that couldn't work, the money was donated to them to help sort of keep them sort of afloat, sort of thing. But yeah, I mean, I'm quite busy. I love just playing drums anyway, so it's been nice. And when Les Glover and Paul Cookson, the two guys who made the Just My Cup of Tea, contacted me, and that was in the UK, and I went over and we started writing together straight away. And this album was actually recorded so quickly. I mean, there was no sort of like, oh, I can hear a little squeak there, or I can hear a little click there, or whatever. We just went in and just played and did it, and it worked out fantastic. And I think from all the years I've been recording, this was one of the most enjoyable albums I've ever done, because it was not sort of, we didn't have to watch the clock and think, well, you're allowed, you got 5 hours and that's it, you've got to do a double album, you know, whatever sort of thing. But no, we had a lot of fun making it, and there it is for the people who's looking, you know, go out and buy it.
Yeah, it's out on both album, vinyl and on CD.
Yeah.
And is it also coming out on streaming, so people can go and listening to it on Spotify and places like that? Or do they need to buy these first?
Yeah, oh yeah, buy them first. Yeah.
There's not much money in Spotify.
Help us out.
Yeah, and they can probably also get it signed from you, I'm sure.
Of course.
But let's talk about this album, because how did you meet those guys?
Well, it just sort of, it came first with Paul Cookson. He's a poet, well-known poet from sort of the centre of England, near, you know, sort of, the middle of England. And he used to do a lot of things for the Slade conventions and things like that. And that's how we came about, and we made contact, and we sort of said, I said, well, I've got lots of lyrics that I've written. And then he has his friend, like Les Glover, who's a multi-instrumentalist, and we just thought, let's give it a try. And we just went up in the studio near their hometown, near sort of Warrington, around there, Nottingham, Warrington in England, and it just happened so quickly. We more or less did the album. I can't believe how quick we did it. We just went in, because I think what helped a lot is we weren't watching. We didn't need to watch the clock. We could just go in and record.
Yeah. But the songs on this album is new written songs. There's actually only one cover, I think, or something like that, where it's one of the old songs you did, "Cause I Love You."
No, but it's not actually "Cause I Love You."
It's not actually that. So it's actually also a new one.
That's just a little sort of joke on the title.
Okay.
And sort of there's a little in a few of the tracks. There's a few innuendos about Slade. People who know Slade will hear it. You know, sort of hear little lines that we do.
That's a totally new song. I was thinking it was the old song.
No.
Okay.
It's a new song. It's just a bit of a send up on "Cause I Love You."
Okay.
Yeah.
But all the songs, how did you write them? I can see it's you're all three songwriters
Yes.
on it and compose
Yes.
on it. How did you work together on the writing?
Well, a lot of it. I have a lot of lyrics stored at home, and I would email them to Paul and Les, and the same thing. They would email melodies to me, and I would put lyrics to the melodies, and it worked like that. Like I said, because of the pandemic situation, that was the only way we could work at that particular time. But it worked out good. You know, sort of, you know, probably a few years ago you probably couldn't do that, but I mean, now, I mean, we worked so easily and quickly as well, Steve. It was fantastic, really.
And the lyrics to the songs, where do they get? Is that pure fantasy, or is it taken out from reality?
There's a few things from reality, but mainly just sort of whatever, just pulling out of the air sort of thing, how things came, you know. But yeah, I mean, so like I said, there are some sort of with a background to some of the lyrics with a background to them. But yeah, I think it worked pretty good. We had a great time doing it. We got a great relationship, you know, Paul, Les and myself. You know, we had a great time working together, and it went so quickly.
And what kind of style is this? Is this the kind of style that we know from the Slade's period, or is it some new kind of style you're playing?
It's not particularly Slade. There's a few things that you hear in there that could probably be related to the Slade sound, but it's original, really. It's original things.
Yeah, but is it in the same kind of rock kind of thing, or is it more pop? Or
not so much rock, Steve, but I mean, you'll be able to hear it. I mean, it is up-tempo things, and it's not sort of easy going or anything like that. There is like a rock edge to it, you know. So that's what we obviously wanted to keep, you know, as that.
Is that important for you also to keep the rock edge?
For me personally, yes. Although I'm sort of fond. I mean, strangely enough, I mean the Eagles are my favourite band, but we don't record anything like that, you know. But we all pull influences from everywhere and just incorporate it with the three of us. But it's not like an easygoing situation. It's quite up tempo and rock.
And how did you do the recording? Was that like you went to England and did it, or what did you do?
Initially I did, yes. We did in a studio like near where the guys live. We were doing that. Like I said, then the pandemic thing hit, and I was at home in Denmark, and I said, you know, email the guys, what are we going to do? You know, we've got a lot of material that we want to finish or actually record. So what the guys did, they recorded guitars, voice, piano and whatever other instruments were needed, and then they sent the files to me to my studio that I use in Varde here in Denmark, and I went along and put my drums on and sent it back. You know, I mean, the way technology is today, I mean, who would have believed that, you know, a few years ago, you know? But it's just the way things are, you know, at that particular moment anyway. But it worked, and we are very pleased with it.
It must also be special for you, because back in the days with Slade, you were all together when you were doing recordings.
Yeah.
It was a different kind of recording.
Yeah, totally different. The thing is like sort of, we're all in the studio together playing. Of course, if anybody made a mistake, then the other three would be cursing that person because we had to stop and start all over again. But it's just the way things have advanced, you know. I mean, sometimes it's for the better and sometimes not. You know, but I mean, there is nothing, like I said before, nothing like all of you being in the same room together doing something, but the spontaneity and the feeling that you get between, you know, the members, you know. But it was the way it had to be done like this in two different countries.
And you had no doubts about doing this album, you know, two new people you started working with. Did you have any doubts about, oh, should I or should I not?
No, I mean, sort of, it happened straight away. I say we went up. I went up to near their hometown, and we just went in the studio, and it clicked straight away. It went so quickly. Like I said, the tracks that particular time, I don't know how many tracks we actually, basic tracks that we recorded, but it just happened so quickly. I mean, none of us could believe it really, but it just clicked straight away.
And now you got the album out, you're sitting here and talking about it, so hopefully people will understand that there's a new album out from you.
There it is.
Yeah. And you have released the album yourself?
Yes. I mean, then again, it's a different situation today, isn't it? It's not like record companies like they used to be, where you could go around their offices and plan promotion or what have you. It's our own label, and hopefully it's going to work.
And you also have a new band, your own band, because you left Slade not so long ago, and it's called Don Powell's band.
Yeah, Don Powell band. Yeah.
And what kind of music can we expect? And how was that to find new band members after all those years in Slade?
Well, actually, it was Craig Fenney. It was when Slade went back on the road again, when Dave and myself went back on the road. Craig Fenney was the bass player at that particular time, and he left the band, and he went into his own business. And Craig and myself have kept in touch, and then he came up about recording the old classic "Let There Be Drums" by Sandy Nelson. And I'd already recorded the basic drums for it many years before, so we got hold of the tapes, and then he got quite a few friends, sort of like Bob, Curly and John, you know, sort of thing, and Craig himself, and that was, again, it was recorded in 2 different countries, you know, because of the pandemic, and but it worked out great. And like I said, we decided to release a version, but adding lots of other well-known drummers like sort of Brian Bennett from the Shadows, and a lot of sort of Bev Bevan from the Move and ELO, and we got quite a few drummers to help out, and they all had a few seconds each of the track, and it's at least I wasn't there. I think it would have been chaos, all those many drummers in the same room at the same time.
Yeah, that's quite a lot of drummers here, and it's just one. There's actually 3 songs on it.
It's all the same. It's all like different versions of "Let There Be Drums." The first track on the CD is all the drummers together, and the second track is just me.
The Don mix.
That's it, the Don mix, you know, so the drums are the loudest.
And then there's standing Son of a Gun.
Yeah, that's just another version of something else, you know, sort of thing, but yeah.
And this band, is that a band you're going to play with, concerts and things like that in the future?
Nothing planned at the moment, because they've all got their own interests as well, bands and things, but the doors are being kept open.
Yeah, and in the future, is that also going to be Slade songs that you've been playing all your life, or is it in another direction?
Well, I think a bit of both, really, because I mean, I think people, because of obviously my lifetime career with Slade, people will expect to hear a few Slade songs, and the rest will be new stuff, really. And are there coming more recordings in the future? Oh yeah, I mean, hopefully, at least I think the travelling is getting a bit easier now, so, and there's lots of songs that we have that we want to put down, so there will be some more recordings.
You also, not so long, some years ago, you did also a recording with some of your old friends, Susie Quattro and Andy Scott. Yeah, now that was great fun. We recorded. How that came about, Steve, is that we'd all done a show at Slade, Susie Quattro and Sweep, we'd all done a concert together, and after the show there was Andy, Susie and myself sitting in the bar of the hotel just having a drink and chatting, and it was Andy Scott who said, now this will make a good band. And that was basically forgotten, and then Susie's manager husband Ryan contacted us and said about doing something, and we said okay, sounds good, and we booked Peter Gabriel's studio down in England, and
we all went down. We did a few days rehearsal of the songs that we had, and we did a couple of cover versions, and then we put the album down in Peter Gabriel's studio, and that was great fun. And then we got it was released in Australia, and he went into the top 20 in Australia, and we did a tour there because Susie tours there every year, and Quattro, Scott and Powell. We were the opening act for Susie Quattro, so she was on stage basically all night, you know, and it really helped the sales of that particular album.
It's amazing, Susie. She's still in good condition, you know.
Fantastic.
Can be on stage such a long time because it's so much power coming out of her when she's on stage.
I'll tell you what, you know, her very first tour when she came to England, which was 1972, was with Slade. And how that came about, Steve, was like Mickey Most, who was producing her records at the time, and he actually produced House of the Rising Sun by the Animals, and Chaz, the bass player with the Animals, was our record producer and manager. And Mickey Most contacted Chaz and says, how about, can we get Susie, she'd just come over from the States, on the next Slade tour. And that was in 1972. Yeah, that's great, and that's how it all started there for Susie.
That's amazing.
It's incredible.
Yeah, and she's been doing so great all through the years.
She's never stopped.
No.
She's never stopped.
But on back to Slade, now we talk a little bit about what's going on now, because back in the days, how come you became a musician?
I'm not a musician, I'm a drummer.
That's a big difference.
No, I don't really remember when we started. It was just we were just playing youth clubs. I mean, that's all we were then, just youth clubs and pubs and bars and things like that.
But why? Why did you start playing drums?
Well, how it started, I started actually playing drums in the Boy Scouts. But then I was... was
that marching music?
That's it. We used to walk around the streets, you know, playing to bugles and things like that. And then two guys, one named Johnny Howells and the other one Mickey Marson. Mickey Marson was the guitarist and Johnny Howells was the singer. And they found out from a school friend of mine that I played drums. They needed a drummer. So I was just playing table tennis at the youth club I used to go to, and they came down to ask if I was interested in being with them. And I said, I don't know what you do. I don't know what to do. You know, what do you do? You know, I didn't have any drums either at the time, and luckily I had a school friend, David Bowdley. He had an old Olympic drum set, and he lent it to me. I don't think he never got it back. I don't really know what happened to it, to tell you the truth. And that's how it started. We were just playing the same again: youth clubs, weddings, birthday parties.
But did you? How old were you when you started listening to this new kind of music?
Oh, yeah, that freaked me out.
Instead of marching music, you know, when did you start listening to that kind of music?
What rock music or No, I was about, must have been 16 or 17, I think.
That's quite old, you know. At that time.
and all the things I've been listening to was in the youth club I used to go to. It was like Billy Fury, sort of Eden Kane, and you know, people of that, Joe Brown, and then Johnny and Mick were a few years older than me, and they were into like Eddie Cochran, Bill Haley, Buddy Holly, and they played me this music, and it freaked me out. What's this? This is a total. Where's this come from? Mars, you know. Unbelievable. And that's how I got into that, and it was just and there was no looking back then, Steve. There's no looking back then. It was incredible.
You found out, to be honest, that there was much more attention from the girls doing this than doing march music with Boy Scouts.
I was told about that, yes. So some of that, I think they called that was a little perk, or something like that. Yeah.
But that must have been amazing, just experience, you know.
Oh yeah,
finding out that this was the thing you were going to do. But didn't you have any doubts about if you could make a living out of music?
I never thought about it because we were having so much fun. You know, we never really thought about money. I remember, because we used to play at the youth clubs or bars or birthday parties, never got paid. You know, but we didn't think about, we didn't realise you could be paid for doing this. And then I remember Johnny, he got us this gig, I think it was at the local town hall, and he said to us, so we're being paid for this one. What? we get paid for this, you know. I think we got like sort of £5 sort of thing, but that was a lot of money. That was like maybe just over nearly just over £1 each, you know, sort of thing. And it was just I couldn't believe you actually got paid for something you loved doing.
Yeah.
You know.
So that was a good experience. What about your parents? Were they interested in music, or where did the interest for music came from?
Well, from Johnny and Mick, basically.
So they were the ones who was giving you the inspiration.
Yes, yeah, because like I said, especially with the rock thing, like I said before, like Buddy Holly and people like the Eddie Cochran, Gene Vincent. I never heard any of that stuff then.
And when did you start having long hair then? Was that also back then?
It started long there, but then the job that I had, I worked in a laboratory in a factory. I just had to like comb it all the way back and put grease on it to sort of hold it down, sort of thing. But yeah.
What about your parents? What did they say for that kind of that kind of life?
I'll tell you what, I was a bit scared, because in those days my parents had to sign the form so I could get some drums, you know, and I had the different jobs, you know, delivering groceries or delivering newspapers to pay for them, and my parents let me go through college so I could study, and I became a metallurgist for a short time, and then we were sort of working as well, doing like the odd sort of youth club and things like that, and we started supporting bands like the Hollies and Cream, all the bands that were becoming really famous at that time, about like 1964, 1965, and that's when we decided to go professional, because we got offered a month residency at a club in Germany. And we thought, yes, that's how the Beatles started. Maybe the same will happen to us, you know. And we got this playing at this club in Dortmund for like £14 a week each, you know, and playing for like 8 hours a night, you know, sort of thing. But it was just great fun, great fun.
And when did you meet the other guys who became Slade, and how did you meet?
Well, when I was working with Johnny and Mick, there's this guy who wanted to manage us, and he saw us and he said, I think you need another guitarist. And we said, well, we don't know anyone. He said, I know this young kid who's working with this band, much older than he is. Maybe I think he will suit you. And so we arranged a rehearsal. We used to rehearse at Johnny, the singer's house, and he said, I will bring him down. And we used to rehearse on a Sunday, and then he brought Dave Hill down. And that's how we met Dave Hill, and then we started to rehearse. And
he was good enough, so you accepted him.
It was, you know, he was the same height then, and but he was playing like Chuck Berry, which you know, we didn't really know much about, and that's how that started. And then that was in 1965, and then Noddy Holder was in another group in our hometown as well. And it was like the Rocking Phantoms, his band were called.
Did you know him from before?
Only from we used to play at the same youth club.
Okay.
And we played a few gigs together, and then they started back in this like cabaret singer called Steve Brett, and I became Steve Brett and the Mavericks. And then in 1965, it was in November. I said that the group that Dave and myself were in, the In-Betweens, we were going to Dortmund for a month, and Nod was on the same boat going across, and they were going to play in Frankfurt. And when we came back, it was like the end of November, beginning of December 1965, and we just, Dave and myself were getting a bit sort of disheartened with the situation we were in, so we were looking for something else really. And then we happened to sort of bump into Noddy Holder in our hometown, and we decided to go and have a cup of coffee together, and we found out that he wasn't happy either with his band. So we were auditioning for a bass player, which was Jim Lee, and then we had a rehearsal together in this pub near where Noddy Holder lived with his parents, and it happened straight away. The first song we played, I remember, was, I think it was Mr. Pitiful by Otis Redding, and it happened straight away, and we knew that was it, and and it went from there.
Did he still have this incredible voice at that young age?
Actually, no, because the band he was in, it wasn't like a shouting rock thing that he did. I don't know how that that happened. I mean, it just developed, and all of a sudden this voice appeared from nowhere of nods, but and so many people comment on it, like I said before, like John Lennon said about Nod, I like that singer, he's so good, he sounds like me, and it's a great comment from John Lennon. Even Tom Jones called him that bloody noddy holder, so I mean, it's incredible really, and it just happened, it did happen for us straight away, and then it's about 1968, we got offered a recording audition at a label in London, and we went down, and as it happened, the owner, the record manager, recording, the label manager, he gave us a week in the studio, and we just went in and just recorded. We didn't write our own things down. It was all our stage songs, all covers from other people, like sort of from Steppenwolf, sort of. There was like, well, Jeff Lynne actually was some of them, lots of Beatles, and the record company boss said, I think you need someone in London to look after you, he said, because it's no good being stuck in Wolverhampton, no one looking after you. And that's when we met Chas Chandler. And that was it,
And Chas Chandler, just so people know who he is.
Chas Chandler, yeah. He was actually originally the bass player with the Animals, sorry. The bass player with the Animals, who had phenomenal success all over the world, especially with House of the Rising Sun. And when the Animals finished, Chas discovered Jimi Hendrix. And at a tiny club in New York. And he took him back to England and produced his records and managed him, and then he came after us.
He became a manager.
Yes.
Yeah.
Manager and record producer.
And a successful one.
Yeah, incredible really, because I think what it is the thing is, he knew the business. He'd been in a band, he'd had all that success, and then he managed one of the biggest artists ever in the world with Jimi Hendrix, and we couldn't believe it that he wanted to do the same for us, manage and produce us.
And just a little quick question: what happened to that record you did in Germany? Did it ever come out? Or?
In Germany?
The one you did with the cover songs.
Oh no, it didn't come out in Germany. It came out. It was released in England.
Okay, it was released in England.
Yeah,
okay.
it was called Beginnings.
Okay.
And it did, like I said, when Chas took us away from that label, he couldn't stop the company releasing that record.
Okay, so it came out.
It came out, yeah. and it didn't really do much. I think it sold in our hometown.
But I guess it helped a little bit when Slade became famous.
I think so. I think it did start to sell a bit more. It became a bit more of a collector's thing.
Yeah.
But it was actually that week in the studio doing that album was a great experience for us. First time in the studio, we learnt a lot, especially with the engineer. The engineer we had doing that was a guy named Roger Wake, and between us we worked so well together, and he taught us a lot of things about studio work.
So you were prepared for the big day when you did the first recordings with your own songs?
That was when Chas said to us, you must start writing your own songs. And in those days, Jim Lee and myself used to write together, and Nod and Dave used to write together, and that's what we do. But the songs that Jim and myself were writing were not particularly rock songs or suitable for Slade as it became. But it was a great experience. And then, like I said, Nod and Jim got together, and the first song they wrote was "'Cause I Love You," and that became our first #1 in 1971. And then Chas said, "Then there's your writing formula," and that's how we carried on throughout all of our career.
Yeah. And there came many hits during that time.
Incredible, really. I mean, they wrote some great songs. I mean, I think about 24 hits. went for 6 number ones, you know, sort of thing, and it's been a fantastic career.
Yeah. What is your plans for the future? Do you have any other plans? You have been making a biography about your life here, yeah. Is there any plans of writing any more books or anything like that?
Not at the moment. I think I'll be sued if I do any more books. But it was great fun doing that anyway. And a lot of the credit has to go to the Danish writer Lisa Falkenberg. She did so much research there. And at the moment, I've sort of started lots of offers, like with the Occasional Flames and the Don Powell Band. So I feel quite privileged and lucky that I'm still able to sort of play drums and hopefully get out there again and start doing concerts.
Thank you very much for coming by.
It's been great, Steve. Thank you.
And good luck with it.
Thank you, mate.
Og til alle jer derude vil jeg gerne sige tusind tak, fordi I valgte at kigge med. Jeg håber at se jer alle sammen tilbage igen i næste uge.
Won't you come on in?